Okay, so it is December, which means it's time for me to wrap up all of these statistical things, favorites, non-favorites, things of the year, and now we can officially get the party started. Today I'm going to talk about my top favorite authors for 2020. I have a top 9, not a top 10, because for the 10th spot, we had 3 authors that came in at the exact same mark, and I just could not tear them apart and place one in 10th. So I'm very quickly just going to give a very quick shout out to Veronica Roth, Neil Shusterman, and Susan Collins. So shout outs to them. Now let's go into my top 9 authors for 2020. Coming in at number 9 is Adam Silvera. And Infinity Sun is a big part of the reason why Adam Silvera is coming in at number 9. So Infinity Sun is Adam Silvera's one and only fantasy book that he's released so far, and I gave this book 2 stars. History Is All You Left Me is an Adam Silvera LGBTIQ plus contemporary. I gave this book 5 stars. Had this book stood on its own, had I not read this one, Adam Silvera would have been a lot higher. Adam Silvera, when it comes to fantasy, is not the author for me. Adam Silvera, when it comes to contemporary, is absolutely the author for me, but just for me personally, I'm not a fan of his fantasy works. I know that he's releasing book 2 in this same series that I don't remember what it's called, but I gave it 2 stars because I just really didn't enjoy it. On the other end of the spectrum, we have History Is All You Left Me, the LGBTIQ plus YA contemporary that Adam Silvera wrote. This book is absolutely amazing. I wish I could give it more than 5 stars. Adam Silvera did an amazing job at exploring this grief and loss in a very real and very raw way, and I really, really appreciate that. I also appreciate the representation of OCD in this book. I really appreciated that so much. As someone who does not have OCD, but someone who knows people who do have OCD, I appreciated getting this inside look into what it's like internally for someone who deals with OCD. So I very much appreciate this. I love this book. I love Adam Silvera for his LGBTIQ plus contemporaries. I just don't love Adam Silvera for his fantasies. And that's why Adam Silvera in 2020 is coming in at number 9. Coming in at number 8 is Rochelle Mead. Oh my gosh, did I have quite a journey with this author in 2020. Let's go through my star ratings, starting off with the Vampire Academy series. Book 1 in the Vampire Academy series, 3 stars. Book 2, 3 stars. Book 3, 5 stars. Book 4, 3 stars, and I really could have made it less. I think upon reread it would be less than 3 stars. Book 5, 5 stars. Book 6, an overwhelming 5 stars. Bloodlines, Book 1, I gave 5 stars. Bloodlines, Book 2, the lowest rating I've ever given Rochelle Mead, 2 stars. My journey with Rochelle Mead has been a rather interesting journey. Rochelle Mead can write really good endings, it's just sometimes getting there that can be a bit of a task. Say what I want about the entire rollercoaster ride that was Vampire Academy, but Last Sacrifice was just incredible. Thank you, Rochelle Mead. Coming in at number 7, we have Lauren Weisberger. So, Lauren Weisberger is the author of the duology, The Devil Wears Prada duology. I gave Devil Wears Prada 5 stars, and I gave Revenge Wears Prada 4 stars. I really enjoyed this duology as a whole, and Lauren Weisberger is just a really good writer. I definitely will say that I would love to pick up more of her contemporary works in 2021 if I can. So that's why Lauren Weisberger is coming in at number 7. Coming in at number 6 is Bridget Camera. Oh my gosh. Okay, so most of these authors, most of them, I did not know coming into 2020, and I've just found them out this year. I found out about them this year, and I've really fallen in love with them. Bridget Camera is the first author to make this list that in this video so far that I've only read one book of, which is this book, Letters to the Lost. Although it must be said that in about 3 books' time, I am going to be reading the companion book to this series, More Than We Can Tell. I love Bridget Camera. I love the writing style. It's easy enough to read, but man, does she know how to pack a punch, and that is why she comes in at number 6. Coming in at number 5 is Sean Horton, and I'm going to put his book up here because I don't have a physical copy of it. It is called Cenote. So I recently had the pleasure of talking with Mr. Horton, which was just such a pleasure and privilege for me. And Sean, if you're watching, hi! Because I wanted to know if this book came out as a physical copy, because I couldn't find one anywhere, and I love this book so much. So I had done a ton of research, and then one day, just on a whim, messaged Mr. Horton. He got back to me and let me know that he never published the book as a physical copy. I don't know if it's an ebook or not. I know it's definitely available on audiobook because that's how I consumed it, but he said he never published it as a physical copy, so that was a little bit of a downer. But Sean Horton still definitely makes this list. Earlier on in the year, roughly around March, I read 2 horror books that just fell extremely flat for me because there were things that I wanted out of my horrors. I want to be disgusted, freaked out, want to have to leave the light on, be convinced I'm going to have a nightmare. Those books didn't do that for me. Cenote did not give me a nightmare, but it had me convinced I was going to have a nightmare because the villain in this book is written so extremely well. Oh my gosh. So very, very proud to have Sean Horton here, and I'm definitely going to be reading more of his works here. And with number 4, I'm going to have to do it this way. Number 4's author has been staring you in the face pretty much since I've read the book, and it's right here. Hello! It is Phil Stamper. Oh my gosh. So, I could gush about Phil Stamper, and it seems right. We're up to my top 4 now. I could gush about Phil Stamper all day. From his writing style, to the subject matter that he writes, to the way that he keeps a book interesting, to the delicate approach that he takes to really tough subject matters, I have come to absolutely trust Phil Stamper, despite the fact that I've only read one of his books, which is no one's fault, because Phil Stamper's only published 1 book so far. Explore a very slow burn relationship, which I think was done so incredibly well. Oh my gosh, I would love to have a relationship based on the way that Phil Stamper writes. It is done so extremely well. Now, Phil Stamper is releasing another book at some point in 2021 called As Far As You'll Take Me. I trust Phil Stamper so much that I'm going to go into this book blind. I don't want to know anything about what this book is about because I trust him so much. Phil Stamper, welcome to the top 4 for 2020. Coming in at number 3 is J.K. Rowling. So, J.K. Rowling has been in the news, probably, arguably, more than any other author this year. But I want it known, especially on my channel, that we are very professional here and we can separate the author, the writer, the books from the person. So I am not going to put down the Harry Potter series because of what J.K. Rowling has done. Yes, she's the author, but this world means way too much to me. So I just want to let you know, there's the person, there's the author. We are celebrating the author. I do not condone what the person's doing. I'm celebrating the author. Okay, let's get into Harry Potter. This is a reread for me for all of these books except for the last one, so let me tell you my ratings. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, 5 stars. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, 5 stars. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, 5 stars. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, 5 stars. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, 5 stars. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, 4 stars. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, 5 stars. And Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, 4 stars. So, let's discuss Ms. Rowling's writing. Okay, again, her writing, not who she is as a person, her writing. Alright. I love this series so much. I think J.K. Rowling is a really good author. I have not branched out from the Harry Potter series to read any of her other works, whether it's works under a pseudonym name or works under the name of J.K. Rowling. I haven't read anything outside of Harry Potter. But she has a writing style that is very easy to read, and yet at the same time very captivating to read. She writes characters that are so easily investable. Every single book has some kind of action-packed climax that occurs, starting off with this book, which is like the least most action-packed climax, all the way working up through to the book 7. And the age range kind of changes. We start with middle grade books and then we end up with young adult books because they get more scary, I guess, and more mature as you go along. But this series is amazingly done. Again, I'm saying it for the last time. Say what you want about J.K. Rowling as a person. As an author, she's incredible. The fact that this series still holds up to this very day, when it was released, I was a little child when they were released, says so much for J.K. Rowling. And that is why, person aside, the author highly deserves to come in at number 3. Coming in at number 2, and gosh, I am so happy for her, is Kiera Cass. Oh my gosh. I did not know in 2020, but you know what? I'm in love. Oh my gosh, I'm in love with Kiera Cass. So, here we go. Let's go through everything. Starting off with the selection series. The Selection, 5 stars. The Elite, 5 stars. The One, 5 stars. The Heir, 4 stars. The Crown, 5 stars. The Siren, 5 stars. And a shout out to the book I'm about to begin, The Betrothed, which is the latest book that Kiera Cass has published. If this didn't give you any sort of an indication that I love Kiera Cass, after not even knowing her in January, I didn't even know who Kiera Cass was. She has changed my life. I love her. So let's discuss this, shall we? Okay, we're going to start off looking at the selection. Anyone who starts promoting this book from now on, or this series, please do not neglect to mention the class/cast, C-A-S-T-E system. Okay, this book is not a fairy tale. It is not a romance. It is a dystopian. Okay, so I never understood why people are just saying this is just a Bachelor Meets the Castle series. It's not. It is so much more. If it was that, it would be a romance. It's a dystopian. The reason it's... Sorry to get on my high horse, but I'm waiting to find a booktuber who calls it as it is and says more than just that it's a Bachelor story. So, this, we are following a world that is called Ilia, and in Ilia we have this class/cast system, as I said earlier, of 5 different, very specific, very individual classes. We have, and they are numbered. So we have class 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Class 1 is the highest, class 5 is the lowest, yep, but it also indicates all the things they can do. So, in Class 5, which is what America Singer is a part of, that is more of the performing arts side, or the artistry side, I should say. So you can do visual or performing arts, where the other classes have other things they can do, just not that. One of the classes is modeling, which is really interesting. Anyway, there is a whole ton of disharmony and discord among the citizens of Ilia because they don't like the way that this class/cast system is being run, especially those of the lower class. This inspires a war between rebels and those in the castle, and we actually see this happen. So, for those who say, this is just The Bachelor, I mean, what were you reading? Did you skip the parts where the castle's at war and we have those very high action scenes where people die? I'm sorry. People die, okay? It's not a romance. It's not a romance. The way that this series wrapped up was amazing. I cried twice reading this book. It was right at the end. There is a final chapter and an epilogue. The final chapter, I cried all the tears I could spare. Then all the tears dried up. Then our protagonist does something else and I cried again, happy tears. So it ended incredibly well, 5 stars. Then I moved on to Cass's one fantasy standalone, The Siren. This book was amazing. The world building was incredible. Kiera Cass, once again, you came through. I love Cass. I'm so happy for her to make it to number 2, and I hope you do too. If you haven't read any of Cass's books and you don't want to commit to a series, I would start off with reading The Siren and see what you think, or just start off by reading The Selection and see what you think of this book. This was so good. I'm actually thinking about a gift to give to one of my nieces, and maybe I should get her a copy of The Selection. She'll probably love it. Anyway, that's Kiera Cass. Absolutely deserves to come in at number 2. I'm so happy for her. Now, if you'll excuse me, I just need a moment to rip out half the books from my bookshelf. Because coming in at number 1 is an author that shouldn't surprise anyone who's been following me all year this year. It is my dear friend that I affectionately refer to as Mr. Brando Sando. Of course he is coming in at number 1. I have 18 books to get through, you guys, so let's do this, because if I have the books right here, they're sitting rather precariously, and if they fall and damage themselves, I'm going to get very upset with them. They're my children. So let's get through them very quickly. Okay, I'm going to go through this in the order that I read them, which is not necessarily going through series order. It's just chronological order of me reading them. So, The Final Empire, 5 stars. The Well of Ascension, 5 stars. Steelheart, 5 stars. The Hero of Ages, 5 stars. The Alloy of Law, 3 stars. Firefight, 3 stars. Shadows of Self, 4 stars. The Bands of Morning, 5 stars. Skyward, 4 stars. Calamity, 4 stars. The Original, 5 stars. Warbreaker, 5 stars. Starsight, 4 stars. The Way of Kings I read as the UK version. It was a 2-parter. Part 1, 4 stars. Part 2, 5 stars. As a 1-book bind-up, 4.5 stars. Oathbringer, again, I read the UK edition. Part 1, 5 stars. Part 2, 5 stars. Words Radiance, 1-book bind-up, 5 stars. And Oathbringer, which I read as a 1-book bind-up, and I gave this book 4 stars. This is Mistborn Era 1, arguably my favourite series that Brandon Sanderson's written so far because of how much nostalgia it has for me. Mistborn Era 2, The Alloy of Law, Shadows of Self, Bands of Morning. If you'd like to know where I got these editions from, these are not the UK editions, let me know in the comments below and I'll send you the link. So, Mistborn Era 2 has a massive time jump between Era 1 and Era 2. I don't have Final Empire there because I'm reading it in December, so it's up on my December TBR section. Okay, this series not only has a massive time jump, but it's very different. The standalone, Warbreaker, really good. Reading this book was the first time that I realised that Brandon Sanderson can do extremely witty, intelligent humour. So, really appreciated that. Words of Radiance. You'll see it in my favourites books of the year because this did so much for me. Every single emotion under the sun, I felt it reading this book. So, yeah, and I laughed. I laughed so much reading this book. It was so, so good. So, we'll revisit that then. And 4 for Oathbringer. The second half of the book was really, really good. The first half of the book I really wasn't a fan of. This is the most recent book that I read for 2020 as well. I have a lot of love for Mr. Brando Sando, if you can't tell. He was definitely always meant to be locked in as number 1 for my favourite author of all time, for up to 2020. And, yeah. Absolutely thrilled to continue on with my Sanderson journey. That is where I'm going to leave it. This has gone on for way too long. I post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday for now. And I'll see you again soon. Mwah! Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading!